You were working this corporate job. What made it so miserable before OnlyFans?
I think the further I went along that career, the more that I realised people who are in those senior positions, they sacrifice so much of their own personal life. So I've been documenting my home renovation on Instagram. They were really like shaming me for wearing gym clothes to DIY in, and how I was basically naked when I was DIYing in my own house. If they're offended by that, maybe I will just join OnlyFans and really give them something to cry about then.
Yeah, I found your stuff particularly interesting because I've always been like a huge fan of creators that are like using, skilled trades for their marketing. But yeah, I guess we can get started. Just let everyone know, who are you and how did you get started into OnlyFans?
So I'm Ali and I joined OnlyFans in March of this year, so 2024. I had been working a 9-to-5 corporate job, which I have recently left to pursue OnlyFans and my DIY home renovation full time. So I've been documenting my home renovation on Instagram over the past year and a half, 2 years. At the end of last year, that following started to pick up a little bit, which was great. But as that picked up, so did the troll comments. And a lot of the troll comments were around what I was wearing. And they were really like shaming me for wearing gym clothes to DIY in, and how I was basically naked when I was DIYing in my own house. People are going to get offended no matter what you're doing, no matter what you're wearing. And I thought, I can use this to my advantage. These people who are trying to shame me for what I'm wearing, for choosing to wear clothes that I'm comfortable in my own house, like, if they're offended by that, maybe I will just join OnlyFans and really give them something to cry about then.
I love that.
And that's how I got started.
That's awesome because it's really true. It doesn't matter what you fucking do. There's always going to be some group out there crying about it and giving you shit. So yeah, you might as well just make hay while the sun shines, make a bunch of money, and they can just continue crying while they're living in their mom's basement.
Yep.
And so you mentioned your 1.5%, which is really impressive, considering that you just kind of came into the industry.
Yeah.
We're kind of just doing your own thing anyway. And then it seems like the whole thing kind of came together organically. So yeah, I guess the question is, how did the progression sort of happen? People started mentioning, oh, do you have OnlyFans? And that kind of sparked your interest. And then you kind of just went into it from there.
Yeah. So I'm currently 1.3% at the minute.
Wow. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. Once my Instagram, so my home renovation, legit account, alongside the troll comments, I started receiving DMs about like, oh, do you have an OnlyFans? I'd love to see more of you, blah, blah. And I sort of just brushed them off because I thought like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, that's not my thing. Like, I'd never really considered it before. And I was even getting comments, like say I was DIYing in a sports bra and someone would be like, oh, you're basically naked. And I would post that on my stories to my renovation account and be like, should I join OnlyFans and make some money off this? And the comments were all like, yes, like go for it. And I was posting on Reddit, had started to gain some traction. So I think pretty much as soon as I had joined, I went into, say, top 18%. And I thought, oh, great. Like, I'm making, like $900. This is brilliant. And somewhere along the line, I just thought, right, I'm just going to have to go for it. Like, if I want to do this, I was miserable in my 9-to-5 job. I have always known that I never wanted to stay in a 9-to-5 job forever. So I bought your course, I think, in around May. Started implementing it. So I went from sort of 18% down to sort of 6%. The more I work through your course, I know it's down to 4%. And in June time, it must have been, I was still sort of posting on Reddit. I'd stopped posting on Reddit, dabbled in Twitter, was like, I don't like this. Dabbled in TikTok, was trying to do the lip syncing videos, and all on, I just thought this isn't for me. Like I was listening to like the podcast you've done with Kay, but I think I think what has worked for me is just using content that is authentic. It is just me doing DIY, doing renovation. I do throw in the occasional thirst trap video now and then just to give it a wee boost. But yeah, I think just being authentic and like not taking on too much. Like I know that trying to manage 20 TikTok accounts just wouldn't have worked for me. For me, it is like one main Instagram account has done very well to begin with. And I know that if I do then put that energy into growing other Instagram accounts, hopefully it will increase things.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up a lot of good points. No, I mean, number one, the kind of staggered thirst trap is super real. For example, like there's a lot of accounts out there that's like all they do is thirst trap.
Yeah.
And they don't really get that many views. But if you can go into a particular niche, like in your case, DIY, and then you're staggering a little bit of thirst trap mixed in with your DIY content, that tends to work so much better, versus a lot of the just blatant thirst trap over and over and over again. So I like that you kind of mentioned that, because that was something that I've tried to kind of talk about in the past, and it's good to hear that you've kind of seen that same experience with what you were doing. And then Cierra also had a really hard time getting on board with Instagram and TikTok and stuff like that. But
yeah, the dancing and the lip syncing, I'm not into that at all.
No.
Either. I did try it. Like I gave it a good, honest try. And I was just like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
So I'm curious, if we rewind a bit, what was the future that you saw for yourself? Like, obviously, you had a passion for DIY and fixing up the house and stuff like that. You were working this corporate job. I'm curious to dive into that a little bit more. What was it, or I guess, what was that job? What made it so miserable? And what was like the future that you saw for yourself before OnlyFans came into your awareness?
Yeah. So I guess my jobs have been in the engineering construction industries. Like I have a bachelor's degree in design engineering and then a master's degree in business analysis. So I went into that business contracts, bid management roles within engineering and construction. And, I think to begin with, at the very beginning of my career, I thought, I really want to climb the corporate ladder. Like I want to be at the top, I want to be making that top salary. And I think the further I went along that career, the more that I realized people who are in those senior positions, they sacrifice so much of their own personal life for that salary, to be in that position, to be making those decisions within a company. And the more time that I spent working with them, the more that I realized I did not want that life. Like I do not want to have to take my work phone or my work laptop on holiday. I don't want to have to not take holidays because there's stuff to be done at work. And I changed jobs very frequently. I've ADHD, and I think that was a big, that played into it a lot. Like being in the corporate industry just didn't work for the way that my brain works and the things that I want to be doing. And the more that my Instagram account started to grow, the more time that I invested into renovating, and actually realized that I had a passion for renovating, for DIYing, for sharing that journey with others. And I think I was then putting so much pressure on the home renovation side of things and making that work and trying to make that, trying to monetize that essentially so that I could leave my job.
So I'm curious, but when you were kind of, you were working that corporate job and then you were trying to monetize social media, what was the mechanism that you were planning to try and monetize? Were you just going to try to get views and get ad revenue, or were you going to try to get like actual physical jobs from the social media, or what was your plan to sort of monetize it?
I think that was probably part of the problem, was that I didn't have a solid plan. I was sort of going into it thinking, these are all the ideas that I have, but I just can't get them down on paper. I had collaborated on a gifted basis with a number of brands for different things like paint and different home things like skirting boards. And I guess my goal, and what I probably can do now and have been able to do for the past few months, is instead of asking for it on a gifted basis, is to ask for it on a paid collaboration. I also started a YouTube channel for the renovation in January, and I posted maybe 3 videos on it, because again, I was like, I don't know what I want to post on here. I was posting content that I had recorded from like say last year, but then I was like, I don't like that like retrospective videos. I want to like, spend a week with me DIYing, or on a bit more like lifestyle type too.
Yeah, like a vlog style.
Yeah.
Showing kind of the behind the scenes. I don't even watch television anymore. I think I only watch vloggers. I would 100% watch your channel.
Yeah, there we go. There's one viewer already.
Yeah, I actually had that on my list of questions to bring up, because I saw you had the YouTube channel and then you stopped posting about 4 months ago or something.
Yeah.
Like that. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of YouTube. And I would totally do exactly what you mentioned, is kind of maybe do, sort of a vlog style channel. But then you can within the vlog, you can do those sort of cinematic sections, and then those cinematic sections, you can clip those down and make, the same type of content that you're already posting on Instagram Reels and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that would be a great strategy, is because that way you're kind of getting content for all the platforms with that one, filming effort, and then just taking clips from there for Instagram and everything else. But yeah, that's totally awesome. So when do you think you'll be getting back on YouTube?
I am hoping by the end of the year. That seems like a long time away, but yeah, I'm hoping that now I feel like I do have my OnlyFans account in a better position. I sort of feel like I know what I'm doing with it a bit more. I feel like that's ticking along nicely at the minute, so I can maybe organize myself a bit better to start creating that YouTube type content and putting more into my like brand renovation type thing. I think it's just a little side note from that. One of the thoughts that I had when I was considering starting OnlyFans was, I guess I was afraid that because I did have my renovation Instagram account, and because I was starting to work with brands on a gifted basis and wanted to turn that into a paid collaboration basis, my fear was, what if these brands, find out I have OnlyFans, they don't like it, they don't want to work with me, I don't get any brands or collaborations through this. And I sort of gone through that thought process, and I then realized I would actually I really enjoyed the brands that I have worked with, and I want to continue to do that, but I also want to be able to afford to buy the product myself anyway, and not have to just depend on a gifted collaboration, because that's where I felt like I was at. Like I just didn't have the financial freedom.
There's an affiliate network that I feel like would be really good for your niche, where I don't know if you've gone through the course on the personal branding section where it kind of talks about affiliate marketing and stuff like that. Have you gone through that section yet?
I've gone through it, but I haven't gone into that bit in depth.
Okay. Yeah. So there's a section in there, but there's an affiliate network that I'll have to show you, that they have a lot of like really high commission physical products that you can promote in the DIY niche.
Oh.
And, yeah, I mean, all you have to do is basically get approved to the network, but that way you don't have to fuck with, getting all these brand deals and stuff like that. You just go choose whatever products you want to promote, And there might be some really good ones in there for your niche. I'll have to send it to you and see what you think.
Yeah.
But I would totally do that with, if your whole strategy was basically, creating YouTube videos and then creating shorts out of those YouTube videos, and then, using that for all your Instagram content, running traffic to OnlyFans and everything like that. And then promoting some of these DIY gadgets and products and things like that from YouTube, I think you could totally kill it doing something like that.
Yeah.
By the way, if you're feeling stuck with your progress on OnlyFans, there is no better place to be than the OnlyFans LevelUp community. The LevelUp community is a private group on Telegram where you can network with all kinds of amazing creators, many of which have been featured on this podcast. Over the years, I've documented with step-by-step video modules the best systems, the best tools, the best strategies used by the highest earning creators. Regardless of your skill level, it's a great place to meet other creators and see all of the best secrets that you can't find on Reddit or YouTube. The link for that will be down in the description below, but for now, back to the podcast.
I was telling you a little bit earlier, like, I think, a lot of these skilled trades are super underrated because I see a lot of creators just fucking killing it. Like, there's this girl who does a lot of like roofing, bricklayers, welders, DIY, renovation, like all that kind of stuff. Like, there's a lot of creators that just kill it with those skilled trades. And for you, did you see the marketing? Because it sounds like you were kind of sitting on that gold mine, but then you kind of were like looking at what everyone else is doing. And you're like, oh, I need to be doing these thirst traps and these, lip syncing and stuff like that. So you were actually sitting on the pot of gold, but you didn't realize it seems like, until you tried to do some of that other stuff. And then you came back and was like, all right, I need to go all in on what I'm already doing, which is what ended up working. Do I have that right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, I didn't think that the DIY videos would work in that sense, which is ridiculous considering the comments and things that I was getting on my actual renovation TikToks and Instagram anyway. And then the idea of like, not wanting to add to the like sexualization of it. And you're just thinking it wouldn't work. And that, everyone else seems to be doing, the thirst traps or the lip sync videos. And yeah, I almost had to go through a few weeks of that being like, this isn't working. Like, what else can I do? And it did take me a few weeks to just be like, okay, just do it. Like, just post them, see what happens. And then the algorithm started doing its thing, and people who follow my renovation Instagram account started finding my alt account that has renovation content on it anyway. They started following, they've started subscribing, they've, been coming on, subscribing, saying, oh, I've been following you for months, wishing you had an OnlyFans. I'm like, this is great. Like, didn't know how to feel about it at first, but I'm like, no, this is good. I haven't actually, so on my like Instagram brand account, I haven't actually shared on it that I'm doing OnlyFans or that I have OnlyFans. I think part of me was still like, oh, like what are my followers going to think? They've been following me for this renovation, and because I do call out the trolls quite a lot, like I'm not afraid to screenshot their comments and post it on my story for everyone to see type thing. So I have been thinking about that, and then people have said like there's more in keeping the two of them separately, but I actually think I'm just going to use, once this podcast is released, I'm actually just going to post a link to it in my story and be like, look, like, here's what I'm doing too. If you like it, great. Like, if you don't like what I'm doing, like, that's okay. You don't have to like how I choose to live my life.
Yeah, that was another thing we were going to ask you, because I was looking at all your accounts and stuff, and then we saw that your more personal brand side, the link tree didn't have any links to your OnlyFans or anything like that. So that was one of the things we were going to bring up, but
will you still keep like keep one a little more spicy and the other one a little more, but just let them know?
Yeah, definitely. I will definitely still keep them, because I know I do have on the like more branded side one, I know I do have like a large following of women who do follow me for DIY tips and just to see like another like solo female homeowner doing this like badass shit that is typically reserved for men. So I will keep that, but I will just make it known that I do have this other account. Although I actually feel like when I was sharing it with my friends, my family, I was a bit like hesitant and not really knowing how they were going to react to it. But the reactions have been so positive. And I feel like, well, I'm hopeful that that will be the exact same on my brand account anyway, that hopefully everyone will say that like I still am the same. Like,
I think there will be a little slice of people that are going to have a problem with it. But the vast majority will be super supportive. And yeah, that's what's going to take you to that top 1%.
Yeah.
Because you have just like a completely untapped market right there.
Yeah.
So your OnlyFans, is your content inside OnlyFans kind of centered around your renovation projects too, or are you kind of
not necessarily? Some of it is. I feel like I do need to play on that a bit more. I think that was where I was like, when I started bringing in the topic, I was like, okay, like now what do I actually do? Like how do I do I do the like do I do like a DIY take on it? I have started introducing a bit more of that. I've also found that a lot of the content that comes from Instagram and OnlyFans, a lot of them like leggings content because I do my DIY in leggings and they all want leggings content. And I'm like, this is so easy. Like, I own so many pairs of leggings I can do. And then in my head, I'm thinking, that's another like avenue, doing YouTube leggings try on videos, but then taking their sleeves report for OnlyFans and taking snippets for Instagram for promo. So I feel like, well, that's not necessarily DIY. They're seeing me DIY in gym clothes and then they're coming and they're wanting gym clothes and leggings and I'm thinking, okay, great. Like I can do that.
Yeah, that would be totally awesome.
And it also leggings is this whole its own category. Surprising. I was surprised by that too, because I wear mostly dresses on social.
Yeah, her thing is dresses and skirts.
Once in a while, I'll put on leggings and they're like, where are you posting that content? And I'm like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
So tell us about, because with your niche, obviously there's a lot of physical work that goes into creating your content. So tell us about a day, like how does or I guess let's talk about your whole week, like Monday through Friday. Or let's start with your day first. Like when you wake up in the morning, what are the things that you're doing throughout your day?
Yeah, I want to hear this because I'm ADHD too.
Wow.
And I struggle so much with like juggling, making content, having hobbies, making social media clips, making YouTube clips, blah, blah, blah. Like what we do is not one thing.
No.
We are... Like, yeah, you're wearing 20 hats. So how do you manage this by yourself?
I mean, I typically wake up and I'll have my breakfast, I'll have my coffee. I will log on to OnlyFans and check messages, send out any videos that I need to send out. And after that, I'm just like, right, what do I do now? I have started making lists. Even I'm like, I'm going back and forth here because this is how my brain goes the way my day goes. I just don't have any sort of organization and it's really bad. Like I know that there's so many pockets of time that I waste by not having it organized or by saying, okay, I'll sit down and I'll do this and I'll start editing a video, but then I'll get another thought and I'll go off and I'll do that, or I'm doing a DIY job and I think, oh, I'll reply to messages while I'm here, and then 2 hours will pass and I'm replying to messages. But
she sounds exactly like me.
Yeah, you sound like Cierra's twin right now.
Like it's just so hard to just focus in on one thing. But I think where I would like to get to with my routine is actually having a routine, like waking up in the morning, having dedicated content days, dedicated DIY days, dedicated days off. Whereas at the minute, I'm sort of like okay, I'll do a little bit of recording content, I'll do a little bit of editing content, I'll do a little bit of DIY, I'll do a little bit of this, then I have to eat, then I have to go to the gym, then I have to, you know, drink water. I mean, it's like, it's really hard to do all of those things at the same time, whereas I want to
The drinking water.
It's drinking water. It's really hard.
So when you kind of came into the industry, you know, knowing what you know now, is there anything that you would have done different going into it?
I think just deciding at the beginning whether, you know, to really just go all in. Like, I think that's what did hold me back for the first couple of months, was dabbling in it, thinking, oh, am I going to do this? Am I not? Am I going to take this seriously? Am I not? Whereas if I had just decided, okay, I'm going all in, I think it's actually just deciding what content to post. As you say, like, I was sitting on that little like pocket of gold that I didn't know what to do with, and I did waste time trying those different trends, and they will absolutely work for other people. But if you have a niche, if you have something like that you can use, that's what I would have done. What else would I have done differently? I think there was one. So for me, not posting any sort of like spicy content on my wall with that like mindset, oh, what if like someone finds it and da-da-da. I've since got rid of that mindset completely. I'm like, I don't care who finds it, who comes across it. If they're subscribing, great. It's more money in my pocket. If they're subscribing to bitch about it, I don't care. It's still money in my pocket.
Yeah.
Putting that on the wall. And one of the things that you had spoke about was having a welcome message with a PPV attached to that. I'm so glad that I'd done that. I wish I'd done it sooner. Having pinned videos to the wall too. Again, so glad I have that now, that people can just come on, tip, I'll send them the video whenever I'm back online. It's, yeah, just instead of like hiding and, you know, being afraid to be seen and really like owning it. Yeah, just owning it sooner, I guess, and not being afraid to just put myself out there. And it's proving to be worthwhile. Yeah.
I feel like that was my biggest hang up. I still struggle with it.
It's really common for a lot of people.
Because my thing is that I don't, interestingly, me being his partner, I don't have a niche.
Ladder.
We did an interview with Haven last week. She's, you know, into pottery, and you do these renovation projects, and, you know, everyone kind of fits somewhere. And so I've had insecurities about, I'm like, I don't have my talent. What's my talent? You know, so I think kind of like coming forward and being like, no one knows that that's like the audience, I mean,
yeah,
is like, they don't know that I'm like trying everything on the backside. But I've had struggles with being seen because of that, because I'm like, I don't have a talent, but I'm sure it will come.
Well, yeah, and I think that's also another hang up for a lot of people, is a lot of people don't want to feel like they're copying somebody else.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, like, everything's been done. And I don't know if anybody's read the book Steal Like an Artist, but the entire concept of that book is that, you know, everything that you can everything that's ever existed has been a new iteration of what had existed previously. And so, you know, when somebody's going out and they're like, oh, I don't want to copy this person. Well, you have, number one, you have to model something that's proven to work, and then you iterate your own version of that and put your own flavor to it. And that makes it uniquely yours. So for anybody out there who's kind of, you know, in that mindset, I don't have anything, but I don't want to, you know, do what this person's doing. I don't want to do what that person's doing. Well, you have to, you know, it's like going in, you got to taste everything and see what feels good for you. And then you kind of go all in on that and make it your own. So, but in your case, you kind of just got to skip all of that because you know, inherently were interested in what you were doing from the start, which is really good.
Like, thank God I've done that, like 2 years of hard work renovating to have all this content. But I also feel like, Cierra, like, being successful on the platform without having a niche is like a skill in itself. Like,
Thank you.
I would be lost without DIY. Like, I don't think I ever would have really been in any sort of successful position, because I would have just been like, oh, I don't know what to do. So I think being able to do that without having like a particular niche, for me, I'm like, that's really impressive.
Yeah, thank you. I have said before, I feel like I've been very fortunate to be able to have, kind of ride the wave for as long as I have. But especially with the way that like marketing has evolved since I started in 2022, you just have to work harder, like based off when you're, how do I say, when you're just kind of thirst trapping.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't really work anymore. And so, you just have to be smarter. And yeah, a lot of people do have to juggle like dozens of accounts, and then just being able to be really smart on the back end in your OnlyFans. And like, okay, so say you don't have 1 million fans this month, how, like knowing how to monetize in your OnlyFans effectively is super helpful also.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, I wanted to ask you, because you did mention you have like pinned posts,
Yes.
and then the welcome message. Would you say your video sales are like where you make your money in OnlyFans, or is it your subscriptions, or?
I would definitely say it's video sales, PPV. Yeah, I think having the pin posts, and so I originally started with, I think you'd mentioned having like your sort of top 3 or 4 videos pinned to your wall. So I started with that, and then I had subscribed to a couple of other creators for some inspiration. I think might have been Isla Moon. She had lots of campaigns, or someone that I was following had lots of campaigns just on their page, and had great. Oh, it was because she had a video store, and I thought, that's a really good idea. I'm going to pin a lot of videos as campaigns and have them like under a separate like video store tag. And that has worked really, really well. Like people can just come on and you'll see that they've subscribed, and all of a sudden they've bought like, or they've tipped for like 3, 4, 5 videos. I'm thinking, oh great, like this is working. Lives as well. I do maybe like 2 lives a month, and they are good earners just for like that little pocket of time. When I look back at my like across the month, I can see for like that evening that I've done them, there's like a nice wee spike. But yeah, PPVs. Great.
We were talking to Haven last week. Her episode's not posted yet. It'll probably be up next week or something like that. But like Cierra said, she does a lot of the pottery stuff, and her live strategy is really interesting too. In fact, I'm probably going to put a clip of her when she talks about it, because essentially what she does, a couple weeks ago, we had Cleo on the podcast, and her live strategy is that she goes live similar to you, like, 2 times a month or something like that. Haven, on the other hand, goes live multiple times per day, just basically brushing her teeth, doing her makeup, just doing all the little things that she does in her day. And she makes hundreds of dollars each time, just people watching her brush her teeth and, watching her just do all the random stuff that she does in her day. So we thought that was totally a great idea, is to just, allow people to just hang out with you doing random stuff. Especially it came to mind with you, because when you're doing all your DIY projects, just like turning on your live and letting people hang out with you while you do that, I'm sure they would just fucking love that.
Yeah, that would be brilliant for you.
Yeah.
I'm curious, because one of the big things that happens with a lot of creators is like, especially coming from a corporate job where it's just this, routine. You go in, you show up, you kind of just turn your brain off afterwards. Your money shows up, and there's just not much to it. Whereas OnlyFans, your brain is on all the time, 24/7. But there's also that like, volatility and roller coaster, to where some months are really, really good, and other months you're freaking out because you might not, you feel like you're not going to be able to afford your rent and whatever. And so I'm curious for you, like, how has it affected you how's your mental health been? Have you gone through a lot of these kind of like roller coasters, up and down kind of stuff?
I definitely understand what you're talking about. Mental health wise, I feel like my mental health has been the best it has been in a long time, because I don't have that burden of going to a job that I'm so like passionless and demotivated about. So I feel like that my mental health was in the bin at times when I was working that job, and I feel like the day that I left, it just lifted such a huge weight off my shoulders. But yes, going from that regular, stable income to now deciding, okay, well now I'm self-employed and I'm going to work harder than I ever worked before, but it would be worth it. Definitely does take a toll. Like I feel like I check my statements and my statistics multiple times a day. Like it is like a little game, and it's an addiction when you go on and you check it and you're like, okay, like how am I doing today? Like am I better than I was doing? And I feel like I do have to just remind myself that like, no, it's going to work out. Some months are going to be less than others. But I just need to keep remaining positive and putting it out to the universe that I am a successful, wealthy, full-time content creator in whatever form that takes.
It's very much like planting seeds.
Yes.
And sometimes your garden is, being fruitful while you're still planting. And then sometimes, it's not so much, but the seeds will come up.
Yeah.
They'll
That's
turn
exactly
into
it.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's coming. It is coming. You just need to be patient and check your statements multiple times a day. Check your statistics.
Yes.
You're going to bed and you're checking it. You're waking up and you're checking it. I know on one of your previous podcasts I listened to, you were saying about Cierra, how you do that. Like you'll wake up in the morning, like check your statements, and Scotty.
Yes.
No, don't do it. Like it'll set you off in the bad.
I can't help it. I have to check it.
Yeah.
Got to know where I'm at.
Yeah.
Do you think there's been any sort of like negative consequences or downsides from it?
I don't think so. Like I think you probably could say the only negative is that you are working essentially 24/7 on building your business, but in my head it's a short-term sacrifice for those long-term gains. Like yeah, you're working like around the clock and you're constantly thinking about it, but you are doing that to invest in your future and to almost like liberate and empower yourself for a better future and for a better life. But then again, it's so easy for me to say that because I am single, because I don't have kids. Like I can imagine it's so much harder for people who do have kids and are subjected to those sorts of comments about, what if your children find it and blah blah blah. But yeah, I don't really think there has been any negative or downside to it that I can put my finger on.
I'm trying to think of one too, even for myself. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be the case for most of the creators that we have on the podcast. But then you look in the Reddit, the Reddit threads and everything like that, and it seems it kind of goes both ways. Like on one hand, you have creators that they start doing it. It's very empowering for them. They make money. It's like there is no downsides for them. And then on the other hand, there's creators that get involved and, they're not able to handle the negative comments, and they're not able to handle the volatility of making 30 grand one month and $500 the next month. And, it can be very emotionally draining to, you're riding the highs, but then one of the biggest mistakes that we've talked about on the podcast with multiple people is like kind of attaching your self-worth to the numbers.
Yeah.
And then when the numbers go down, then, so does your perceived, your perception of yourself for many people. But yeah, so I think it's just like, it just depends on the personality that gets involved, to where for some people there legitimately is no downsides. And then for others, there's a lot. So I don't know, I guess it's, people just need to sort of understand who they are and, be secure in themselves before starting something like this.
Right.
I'll have your Instagram I'll link your YouTube and your Instagram below.
Yeah.
Hopefully some people go to your YouTube and give you some pressure to start posting.
Yeah,
again.
no, that's exactly it. I will be back on it. It's putting it all in my head, and yeah. I guess
Nice.
one of the things that I suppose has worked well on my renovation account, which people who have those like more like thirst trap accounts might want to try, is actually going on your stories and like talking on your stories, and like even if you don't have a niche, but like building that personal connection, that personal brand through your stories. It's something that I didn't do for a long time on my like renovation account, and then when I started posting it, people really enjoyed watching those stories. And if I don't go on my stories for a while, I get messages being like, where have you been? Like, we're missing your stories. Come on and chat to us about your ramblings.
Nice. Yeah,
That is a good
perfect.
idea.
So what are the next steps for you?
Finish my bloody renovation. Finish my house is not necessarily next step. My goal is to finish this house by the end of the year, and hopefully in doing so, like, create that routine, create that structure that I do desperately need in my life, or I probably will reach a point where I'm like, this is too overwhelming. I'm trying to spin 50 plates at once and not getting anything done. So I feel like next step is getting that routine nailed down to some degree, with allowing myself a bit of flex. Getting back on YouTube, I do have the ideas. I think what you've suggested here today is brilliant, and I will definitely be putting that into place. Just really continuing to build hopefully the personal brand and building the account, hopefully getting down to that 1%, and yeah,
that's great. All right, and then the last question, what is your biggest dream?
I know I keep saying it, and I know I keep coming back to it, but I guess like financial freedom, just having a life that is flexible, that is on my terms, being able to renovate and to hopefully flip houses eventually, whether I want to live in them, whether I want to sell them, Airbnb them. And I think, but like, my immediate goal, dream, which hopefully when I do eventually reach that point, bringing in a bit more each month, would be to retire my parents. Like, that's if I can do that in the next 5 years, I will be happy with that.